Hey, before we start today's show, I just wanted to take a minute. I want to say thanks to the Foot Clan for supporting this podcast, our independent, year-round fantasy football podcast. We'd love to have you, if you enjoy the show, get involved with us at jointhefoot.com. We have access to exclusive leagues only for listeners of this show. If you're in a league that stinks, get involved with listeners of this show who enjoy fantasy football, who know what they're doing. It's a lot of fun. We had a ton of these leagues last year. You can get access to those at jointhefoot.com, get an extra episode every week, a ton of other perks like giveaways, just a great way to stay connected to fantasy football all year long. We invite you to check it out at jointhefoot.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show. Once again, we welcome you in. It is Thursday, January 12th.
That was a good flow.
2017.
Once again, we welcome you in.
Yes, I
It's
like to
Thursday.
keep it tight.
Gotta keep it right.
Got to keep it right. Andy, Mike, Jason, all back.
We're all back.
All
That's
wearing
good.
all wearing Fitbits.
Hey, year of health.
Motivational competition between us now on a day-to-day step count, trying to get in shape. Get it right. Get it tight.
Just tighten.
We have a just tighten up. Just yeah. I like that working out, Jason, for you meant that you couldn't work out later because you were hurting so bad.
You have
That is a strange
You have no
correlation.
idea how sore I am today.
That is, I am surprised.
Oh,
I
my
was a little
goodness.
sore, but I went out and played basketball yesterday.
Yeah, well, some of us work out a little harder.
All right.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I destroyed my body.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good one. We have the second half of the truth about fantasy football wide receivers in 2016. This is, if you didn't hear the first episode, go back, listen to Tuesday's episode. We broke down the wide receivers 1 through 10, how they finished, what their consistency looked like, how they performed against good and bad teams. We broke it all down, gave you some perspective beyond the numbers, beyond the rankings, and that's what we're doing again today. We'll go through a number, probably about 10 more wide receivers, and then we'll also talk about some guys that really laid an egg and kind of what to expect from them next year. We'll have these for every position. We'll have a quarterback episode, a tight end episode as well, running backs. So stay tuned. It's going to be great. Also, I want to call your attention to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. There are a number of really high-quality articles going up over the past couple of weeks reflecting on the season. One I want to mention, there's a 25 statistics article about quarterbacks.
Oh, that was so
They're just
good.
fun. These are fun articles because you get 25 kind of mind-blowing stats from last year.
It's basically like reading an all-star list of tweets. Like that tweet that's just like, oh, man, what a good stat nugget. You get to do that 25 times in a row by our man Kyle Baloney.
I'll pull one out of my brain here from what I remember. Marcus Mariota had an 8 straight week run of QB1 performances in the middle of the season. The only other quarterback to do that was Aaron Rodgers over the course of the year. So you might lose sight of stuff like that because Mariota was hurt towards the end of the year and didn't affect your playoffs. So.
Yeah, a lot of good ones in there. Second half of the year, Cam Newton was quarterback 22.
Yeah. Whew. I got a couple of quick questions today. We'll start with a real important one here. This one comes in from Daniel. Daniel, he says, I'm in a league where last year's champion broke the trophy 6 months ago. I won the title 3 weeks ago and still haven't received the trophy. What kind of punishment should the owner receive?
Here, let me go ahead and tackle this one.
You want to take this one, Jason?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one.
It's almost like you know exactly
what to say.
This situation. Well, I mean,
if I had to guess,
right?
If I had to guess at this situation, I would guess that last year's championship was the only real championship, and that this year nonsense happened, and you, Daniel, do not deserve the trophy.
That turned
also,
personal real quick.
It is in the trophy shop. I cannot make them move any faster.
It's at the trophy shop.
Yeah, it is.
Is it really?
It's
Yes.
just
It's
like,
been
So,
it's been there for
in
like
case you haven't picked up on it, Jason broke the trophy, and he hasn't given it to the league.
where'd you get
one
those,
of our league
those
winners.
pants? The pants store?
The pants shop.
The fan shop.
All right, here's a real one, guys.
The trophy shop.
At my FF Wit. So Michael Newsom says, based on inconsistency of tight ends this year, are you comfortable taking any of them in the first 3 rounds? Do you even want Gronkowski early? I have my thoughts, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
If Gronk is healthy or not on PUP, I'll say that. If he is not on the PUP list starting next year, I would absolutely take him in the 3rd round. I mean, to me, that would be stealing Gronkowski. If I'm at the back of the 2nd, maybe I'll think about it. I still think Gronk is worth the risk that he gives, or his risk reward is so great for your team. We've seen when he puts together a fully healthy season, you win.
If you and your friends are in a little gun battle and there's a bazooka laying off to the side and you can pick it up and fire, and maybe
it might misfire, though.
It might
That's the
misfire
problem.
and it might blow up. But if it hits, you just won. And that's what Gronkowski is to me. So I'm going to tell you right now, I would think about him back half a second. And
first
3rd
round, no.
No, I will not take the first round gamble. But
I am not quite as hot as you two on Gronk. I agree in the 3rd round. Your risk isn't that high anyways, but it's been a long time.
I'll aim the bazooka at you. That's fine.
Look, I mean, you've got it misfiring.
To a bazooka. Do they even call them bazookas anymore?
I sure
toss
hope
me
so.
the bazooka.
Dude, they have to.
They call them missile launchers, but we're calling them bazookas.
Oh no, we got to change that.
Listen,
Listen, if
how
you're
are we going to change that?
Because people listen to this show from everywhere, and I know that there's a general in the Army listening
general.
right now in preparation for next season.
All right, attention, Marines. We are changing some of our language around here.
It is. We're going back to bazookas.
Where's Patton at? Patton will
take care of it.
But I do think that bazooka misfires quite often. How many times have people drafted Gronk where they've won their league versus how many times where they've drafted Gronk where it's cost their team, 50-50.
It comes down to draft value.
Yeah, that's where, for me, in the 3rd, I am willing.
I don't pick up the bazooka in the 1st round anymore.
Yeah.
So, all right. There you go. And there's no other tight ends you'd consider in those first 3 rounds, right? Not anymore.
I mean, I'm
on it. I still like Jordan Reed.
Yes, I love
but
Jordan Reed. I think a 3rd is probably too early.
You didn't
for him,
even
though.
need to spend a 3rd this past year to get Jordan Reed. You're definitely not going to do it next year.
Yeah, fair enough.
News and notes from around the league.
All right. Sad news here for San Diego residents. The Chargers will announce, according to Adam Schefter, by as early as Thursday that they are moving to Los Angeles, ending a 55-year stint with San Diego, returning to their birthplace. This is sad.
It's weird that that's their birthplace. You forget that they were there for a year.
Yeah, well, because
I do not
55 years ago.
This. I believe San Diego is pretty notorious for, like, with all the blackout rules. It was always, well, is San Diego going to get a blackout game? I remember, like, a string of games.
Yeah, well, we experienced that in Arizona for a long time.
You're not filling the seats. But did you see the stadiums at the Rams games towards the end of the year?
Yeah.
There was nobody there. That was with one
It's like a high
team.
school football.
How are you going to support 2 teams? I don't.
They're looking for a head
understand
coach,
it.
right?
Yeah.
I
So
think
do you want to know
LA
who they should hire?
Oh, Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher!
Yes!
Oh, my
Bring him back to
goodness.
L.A. for another franchise.
He doesn't get to
Please.
play the Rams, but he gets to see them all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, I would. I think LA can support 2 teams, no problem. I think the reason people didn't show. Look at the beginning of the year. That stadium was packed.
Right.
The stadium was packed out. The reason they didn't come at the end of the year was because
beginning
the
of
product.
anything.
Because the product was garbage.
We could get into all the reasons why Californians don't show up at the back half of a year, but we won't. Head coaching changes. Vance Joseph signs a 4-year deal with the Broncos.
All right.
This likely means, just so we're aware, this likely means that you won't have, Wade Phillips anymore.
Right.
Because he's a DC. Wade Phillips could land somewhere else, worth paying attention to for defenses. Mike McCoy is going to head back home to Denver, where he was the offensive coordinator. He'll take over again after leaving San Diego. And then Shawn McDermott was hired as the Buffalo Bills head coach. Everything I read about McDermott says he is the opposite, an anti-Rex Ryan type of guy. He's not going to come in with the flash and bravado, but he has a heck of a pedigree. So pretty good head coach hire, I think, for Buffalo. We'll see how it turns out.
I like Mike McCoy going back to Denver.
Yeah.
You have Sanders and Thomas who can thrive.
And we'll talk about both of them today because their consistency was terrible
But
this year.
Mike McCoy gets, maybe he's not head coach type of guy, but he gets production out of his quarterbacks.
Yeah, later in the offseason as well, we're going to go through, once all the head coaching carousel is finished, we'll go in depth and tell you how Vance Joseph, how Shawn McDermott, how these guys will affect the fantasy outlooks of their team. But we'll probably wait for that episode until most, if not all, of the coaching.
We need to see their whole entire coaching staff as well.
Couple of notes for the playoffs. Ladarius Green's still in the concussion protocol.
Man.
And then Geronimo Allison.
Well, that was bright.
Certainly did.
Still expected to play Sunday.
Oh.
Well done.
Thank you.
Oh.
So he had some marijuana charges from an incident on September 4th, a traffic stop. Since they're pending, there won't be discipline from the league yet. So I like Geronimo Allison more than I do Janice.
Well, it appears that the team likes Allison far more than Janice.
And by the team, you mean Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Yeah, well, fair.
Which is pretty much all that matters.
Any other news you guys want to share, or shall we begin the truth?
Let's get into it.
I don't think I can handle it.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Can you handle it, Jace?
We're gonna find out. Some of this truth gets a little uglier the deeper we go.
It
always does.
Yeah, we ended last episode with Brandon Cooks and Doug Baldwin, who both finished 9 and 10 in the half-point rankings. However, they were 23 and 33 on the consistency rankings. And just for a quick recap before we get back into the wide receivers, we're determining consistency based on how many top 5 performances did you have, how many top 25, and then how many kind of bust outside of the, top 50 did you have, where you have a guy that you could have started a waiver wire scrub over them, and they might have cost you a week. So we're going to start now. Number 11 in half-point rankings, Michael Crabtree.
He was great.
Second consecutive year outperforming the flash of Amari Cooper. When push comes to shove, both in consistency and total points, Michael Crabtree was just plain better than Amari Cooper. 16 games, 89 receptions, just over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Certainly started faster than he finished. But when you break it down, he had 9 top 25 performances. He had 1 in the top 5. So you don't, when you look at Cooper, he had a couple of them. You don't really get that from Crabtree, top 5 numbers. But talk about a great wide receiver, too, to have on your fantasy team.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 9 top 25 finishes, that is being consistent. That's very Eric Decker-like, especially.
And it's more than Michael Thomas, by the way. It's more than Brandon Cooks, Doug Baldwin. Same amount as Hilton and Julio. So, yeah.
Yeah, as your wide receiver 2, you hope that you've got a wide receiver 1 that's on your roster that's putting up those gigantic games. Michael Crabtree only had 1 top 5 performance, but when you've got that kind of solid production coming in, those are keys to organizing a fantasy football roster in a way where you win every week.
Well, and ADP of 87 helps.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, where you drafted
here's
Michael
the nice
Crabtree.
thing about Crabtree is we say this about certain people, but every single year, the people that are underrated, the Jordy Nelsons and Michael Crabtrees that come into a year and they're not getting the respect they deserve. I'll throw Devonta Freeman into that.
Frank Gore historically.
Frank Gore for sure. Before that, you had the depth chart assassin, Fred Jackson. Every single year, you have some of these guys who they've got a knock on them. That maybe they don't have that top end speed, or they don't have something that the stars have, and every single year their ADP is going to be great.
And there's no way he gets drafted ahead of Amari Cooper next year.
No way on the planet Earth.
The way I visualize it is if everybody is in a race running for the top of the draft board, these guys all have a weight around their neck, and they just can't shake it year to year. For some reason, they just can't get up to where people have confidence in them. And, it's kind of sad because I finally was doing that with Eric Decker. I was like, I'm on board with Eric Decker.
And then he got hurt. So part of Michael Crabtree, he did perform a lot better against bottom half passing defenses, 81 yards compared to 48. You'll see those numbers very similar with Amari Cooper. That's with Derek Carr. He's just not – I like Derek Carr a lot. Yeah, he's not there yet to where it's that, it's a great passing defense. He has to play Denver twice every year. And you know that those are games that you're probably going to avoid, at least for now. Maybe Derek Carr evolves for next year and things change. But where it sits right now, that's one of the knocks on Crabtree and Cooper as well.
All right, let's move on to Larry Fitzgerald.
Pro Bowl
number
Larry.
12.
ADP of 62 this year. Played all 16 games. Led the league in receptions, 102. 6 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. However, despite being number 12 in the rankings, he was number 29 in terms of consistency in standard.
Yes.
But in PPR leagues, he was number 8. He was even better. So he is a player that you see a big disparity, much like a Edelman type, where PPR leagues, you can lock and load him in as a 2 and get top perform. I mean, you get 1 numbers in a PPR league. He'll be underdrafted most likely next year.
Certainly. This is the second year in a row you've seen him start hot and fizzle out towards the end of the year. And because he's older, nearing retirement, you're going to get a lot of the narratives that are saying he dropped off and he lost.
We don't even know if he's back.
That's true. He might actually just straight retire. I do think right now that he will be back for another year and that Carson will be back as well. But I do, coming into the draft season, he might be a guy that starts off hot again and gets cold, but that's going to be fine to draft him. And just to give you an example, you look at his consistency wasn't that great. The first half of the year through week 9, he was the wide receiver 10 in half-point formats. You guys want to take a guess the second half of the year where he was ranked? From week 10 on, he was the 34th wide receiver. So it was really the second half. Same thing happened the previous year. You draft him and trade him.
You draft him and trade him for
Doug Baldwin.
Yes, the perfect combo.
The perfect wide
if
receiver.
You have that is
Larry in the beginning, Doug in the end.
Yes.
By the way, in the news, we should have talked about it. I don't know why we didn't, but those of you out there looking for an update on Jordy Nelson, it's very, very likely he's going to miss this week's game against Dallas. If they were to win, I would expect him back on the field the following week. Aaron Rodgers.
2 broken ribs.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers basically said, if he can't play this week, we're going to win a game and get him back next week. If he goes through the walkthrough, there's still a chance he could play, but it's like I would put it at a 1% chance of playing. So Jordy Nelson, if you're in playoff challenge leagues, other things, I had to pull him out. I would have had my 2 times bonus, but I had to pull him out. I had to move on. So just a heads up for those of you following the Jordy Nelson news. All right, Larry Fitzgerald, we talked about him. Let's talk about the other Raider wide receiver now, coming in at 13. Amari Cooper ended the year, drafted much higher than Michael Crabtree. You're talking about the 28th. In PPR leagues, 21st off the board. In standard leagues, 28th off the board. Outpaced Crabtree in terms of yardage, 1149. Had 3 less touchdowns than him with 5 and had 82 receptions. I can still write the story in my head where Amari Cooper breaks out year 3 next year, is the elite better option than Crabtree, because you have guys on different spectrums of their career, right? I mean, one's going up the escalator, presumably, one's going down it. Next year could be the year where it doesn't happen yet, though, and then the illusion is it gets you. So I don't know where you guys sit. He was much better against bottom 16 defenses. His consistency was number 19, and he had 5 weeks where he completely pooped the bed. So what do you guys think about Amari Cooper?
For the escalator, and Crabtree's 29. He'll turn 30 coming into next season. So yeah, that's a little bit older, but that's not.
He may just be at the top of the escalator.
Right.
For a couple of years.
He's not about to just completely disappear. And you have that red zone goal line trust that Derek Carr does not trust Amari Cooper. At least that's what the targets would say.
They throw the ball to Holmes, and they throw the ball
Roberts.
and
to Roberts. Yeah, it's just a little different what they do in the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously over the next few years, you will see the time where Amari Cooper is clearly the better option than Crabtree. It's just, time wins. But right now, I don't think it's there, and I'm going to draft whoever's ADP is lower, which means I'm going to draft Crabtree.
All right, before we move on to Jarvis Landry, I do want to take a minute and thank the sponsor of today's show, Blue Apron. Yesterday, I came home from the studio, and sitting upon my counter was a fresh Blue Apron package. Delicious. Delicious dishes straight to your house. We've talked about them for a while. We love Blue Apron because cooking together builds better family bonds. My wife and I, we love this. We get the Blue Apron in. It comes pre-portioned for exactly our meal together. It's kind of like a date night at the house. We have the kids. We can't always go out, can't always get childcare. Blue Apron is awesome because when we cook together, we enjoy a freshly cooked meal. We absolutely love it. Just an example of some of the meals you can get in January. Seared pork chops with farro and cranberry chutney. Spaghetti squash and marinara with mushrooms and garlic knots. And then that spicy shrimp and Korean rice cakes with cabbage and furikake mushrooms.
Yeah, that's
delicious. So
we're getting closer.
We're getting closer to pronouncing those all. They're so good you can't pronounce them. I'm telling you right now. Check out this week's menu. You get your first 3 meals for free, so you get to check it out. We just had some tweets about getting their first meal with free shipping. You go to blueapron.com/ballers. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So do not wait. That is blueapron.com/ballers. Give it a try. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
And we also want to make sure everyone never forgets about Pristine Auction. Pristine Auction is
I will slap you if you forget about Pristine Auction.
I will slap that memory back into your face.
Yes.
Pristine Auction, all your signed goods, your signed merchandise, your signed memorabilia, whether it's for sports or for movies or for anything like that.
I just had a DM from somebody on Twitter last night. They asked me, they said, hey, look, the deals are so good. What can you tell me about the authenticity of this company, the legitimacy of this company? They seem so good. Look, we frequent Pristine Auctions headquarters. We've sat down with them. If you have a question about them, I will put you in contact with the owner of the company. They are an upstanding, authentic memorabilia. We've been there when David Johnson has physically signed the goods, and we watched a JSA certified authenticiter. I don't know if that's a term.
Nailed it.
An authenticitor. Sit there.
Authenticator,
much better. I'm gonna go with that. But I just wanted to reassure people that hear us talk about them.
Yes.
This is not an internet scam. This is not a.
I know, but when you see the prices, sometimes you go, it can't be.
No,
it really
it's
is
high quality, authentic gear.
100%.
And we have it all over our studio.
Completely authenticated. So check it out. It's pristineauction.com, PRISTINE auction.com. If you got a team in the playoffs, go ahead and call your shot. Call your Super Bowl victory now. So, like, if you're a Houston Texans fan, you got a couple days left to get your Pristine Auction gear. Get your Brock Osweiler signature. They're going to be
I'm sure Pristine really loves that endorsement. Get all your Brock Osweiler merchandise. It's selling out fast.
There you go. And make sure you let them know that you heard about him from the footballers.
That's right. All right, Jarvis Landry comes in. He was the 14th ranked wide receiver in half-point per reception leagues. Amazingly, his consistency rating was identical between standard and PPR, which is strange to me. I was expecting him to be worse, and he actually came in at number 11. So he was a higher on the consistency rankings than the actual rankings. 94 catches, 1,136 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes during the fantasy football year, certain players get pushed to the periphery. The performance of that offense in the beginning of the year, I didn't own Jarvis Landry in any leagues, so I wasn't paying as close of attention to him. When I see that, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I had no idea he had 94 receptions and 1,100 plus yards.
I knew about that. It's the ranking of his consistency is, I mean, it is what it is because it felt like he was very up and down.
It did.
I mean, he came out just absolutely on fire in his first 4 games. He had 2 over 100, a couple touchdowns. The targets seem to be that, we know what we're going to get. Tannehill loves throwing it to Jarvis Landry. Then there was this lull in the middle of the season, and then you had the switch to Matt Moore, which you think, well, Matt Moore's the gunslingers, the deep ball. You saw Kenny Stills really start getting involved, but Jarvis was still great. I mean, in those last 3 games, He was over 100 twice. He had a touchdown. So
I think one of the things that you need to realize about Jarvis Landry when we're going forward is that he's an exceptionally good wide receiver. His hands are great. He can make moves on his own to break a tackle.
Great after the catch.
He's great after the catch. And so, you go, okay, I'm not sure how I feel about the offense or Ryan Tannehill or Matt Moore or whatever. Jarvis Landry himself is not going anywhere because he is an elite talent on the field.
And what you don't see is 11 catches in the wildcard game. So he was 11 for 14 targets in the wildcard game for over 100 yards as well. I just looked at his stat line. 11 of 16 games, he was over 9 points.
Yeah.
So 9 of those, double digits, had some big performances. What you know,
Andy,
voice of public opinion.
But I thought Devontae Parker was going to really be the guy there.
I like Devontae Parker.
Still? Asking for
I sure do. I really like Devontae
I like
Parker.
him too, but
Look,
Jarvis
what I
is
was going to
not
say is
going
with
away,
Jarvis,
though.
you know what you're going to get touchdown-wise. And it was
5 or 6.
It was 4 this year. So
you're not getting 5 or 6 from Landry.
You can get 5 or 6.
You can get
from
5 or
Landry.
6
Can
from
you?
Landry.
Has he ever done that?
I think last year. I bet he had 7. I'm going to predict. You look it up.
Oh, I
bet he had
guarantee.
7
I'm
last
going
year.
under.
Okay.
I'm going under for sure.
But Parker had 4. And Parker was actually pretty good towards the back half of the year.
here's the touchdowns for Jarvis Landry's career.
Oh, crap. It's going to be 4.
His rookie season, he had 5.
Ha! Nailed it.
That is a career high
All
because
right.
the following years he had 4 and 4.
Yeah, and then 4 this year, right?
Yeah, that's what.
Did I
did
say
count this year.
Did I say 5 or 6? I meant 4 or 5.
Yeah, see, if you had said
So-
4 or 5, I can get on board.
Look, Parker's going to be your big play guy. He's going to be somebody that I would take, like, for draft position, I'd rather have Parker next year in standard leagues than I would Landry next year in standard leagues based on draft position.
Well, Parker also we're getting off topic here with Parker.
No, it's
but,
okay. It's a piece of the puzzle for
his
Landry.
draft stock, to me, will be very related to Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills is a free agent. He had a pretty solid season. Kenny Stills is a good wide receiver. He's more than just a deep threat to me. What do we laugh?
I'm just laughing because I felt like that was just an extra line you had to throw in for the age-long debate we've had about Kenny Stills.
Oh.
You're like, he is a good wide receiver. He tells himself that every morning.
It is funny.
Kenny Stills is good.
I
like-
agree. Mike and I have always thought Kenny Stills is good. Andy has always argued that he's
and
nothing.
I thought the
I've
Saints,
just argued that if the Saints were willing to get rid of him, then there's something wrong.
Well, the Saints.
You
made
know who
a
he is?
mistake.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay, who?
Kenny Stills is Mike Wallace a good wide receiver?
Yes.
Kenny Stills is a better all-around wide receiver.
I don't
than
agree
Mike
with
Wallace.
you. I think they're identical. I think what Kenny Stills does is he gives you exactly what Mike Wallace does, which is 1 or 2 plays a game where you're like, that guy's really fast. Otherwise, tough to lean on.
I can get behind that.
But
Anyway, I'm sorry. You're right about your
my point
about
was
it.
simply that Kenny Stills, I think he'll be back with Miami, and if he is, that you might not get that Parker explosion like you hope.
If he isn't, and this is the second team to not want him, are you going to start to?
So no, someone's going to want him. He's going to get paid.
Of course, he'll go to a third team, just like all the good wide receivers do. They always bounce around team to team,
Mike Wallace has been on a few.
and he's not good. That's my
Mike
point.
Wallace is good.
No, he's not.
What? You can't say Mike Wallace is not a good wide receiver.
I can. I just did. He's not a good wide receiver.
He just makes you sound like a dummy.
He's a fast person. That's what he is.
If
He
I
wins
gave-
races down the field.
Okay, well,
You think Mike Wallace is a good wide receiver?
if
Yes,
if
I
I
do.
said a receiver on your team had 72 receptions for over 1,000 yards, is that a bad wide receiver?
It sounds like a good wide receiver to me, Mike.
Because that's what he had last year.
Who?
Mike Wallace.
He's a bad wide receiver.
You're
I don't
you're
like him.
blinded.
I think I will have the Twitter support from those that have ever
I don't
been on
think-
a team with Mike Wallace.
I don't think there are many. Yeah, there you go. I don't think there are many bad wide receivers that have a 9-year career in the NFL.
Sure there are.
Okay.
James Jones. All right. Let's talk about Tyrell Williams. This is a surprising situation. I mean, it jumps off the page to me as a regression candidate.
Yes.
Well, you got Keenan
Tyrell
Allen.
Williams took advantage.
Yeah, he was in the right place, right time. A lot of people early when Keenan Allen went down, and you wonder who's it going to be. We talked about the wide receiver roulette in San Diego. Some weeks it was Dontrell Inman. Everybody in the very beginning Although I would say not us. I thought it was going to be Tyrell Williams, but you had the Travis Benjamin was really the guy
paid to be that guy.
Exactly, brought in to be that guy. But Tyrell Williams seemed to be the best of the three there.
Tyrell Williams finished as the 15th ranked wide receiver in half-point leagues. The thing about Tyrell Williams, and honestly, it reminds me a lot of Vincent Jackson in his San Diego days. His reception totals were so drastically, so much lower than all of the other people ranked ahead of him. I mean, he had 69 catches for his 1,059 yards. He's a big play type of guy. He's not going to give you PPR numbers the way that these other guys do. I'm looking at up and down. You're seeing 90, 80 catches. But you would have been fine starting Tyrell Williams because in the end, he makes a big play almost every game. A chunk play, a 40, 50-yard catch, even if it's not a score. Very impressive season. I don't know what he is long term. That's the tough part when you have a guy that finishes right here.
I like him.
The nice thing about him, what you're pointing out, is that he's that low target, big play type of receiver for that team. Well, when Keenan Allen comes back, I don't think that he's going to be hurting Tyrell Williams so much because he plays that different role. Keenan Allen's going to be the 100 reception, 10 yards a catch type of possession receiver who can break things long.
He's the West Coast
tough, though,
Jarvis Landry.
Anytime you take an offense and you add 100 receptions to it,
sure,
there's a huge question mark because I don't think that they hate Dontrell Inman. Inman's young.
They paid Travis Benjamin.
They have Travis Benjamin. So there's something's got to give there. So I think Tyrell, I don't think you can expect this from him next year no matter how good he is.
Agreed.
You also have, a really strange thing happened. You look at that 25 statistics article. Phillip Rivers, I don't think he gave a top 12 standard league performance from week 5 on. Very, and you can say whatever you want. Oh, you have to have, Keenan Allen in the mix.
He had enough weapons.
You didn't have to have Keenan Allen in the mix last year for him to do that from time to time.
Matt
Barkley, you have to
did.
wonder a little bit. Yeah, Matt Barkley did it. That's the story of the
I
day.
agree. I mean, Tyrell Williams won't be drafted around here next year, but what we need to keep in mind is he's got the big play potential, and where his draft value is next year will determine whether he's worth that shot in the dark at a repeat.
Out of all the top 20 wide receivers this year, Tyrell Williams is by far the most likely to give you a year number 60 or something like that.
He'll be drafted accordingly, I think.
You're probably right. Demaryius Thomas comes in at number 16, the perennial top 5 guy, not this year, number 16, consistency. He was number 10 in PPR, still had 144 targets, still had 90 catches because he just does that. But 0 top 5 games for the entire year. None of them. 0. Zilch. Nada. Mike McCoy coming back. Where do you put Demaryius Thomas next year? What do you think about this season?
Disappointing.
Did the best he could do?
Yeah, absolutely disappointing with Simeon. Disappointing for where you drafted, I should say. The fact that they had a 7th-round quarterback come in and he goes 90 for over 1,000, that's fine production. Hopefully Mike McCoy can continue to coach up Trevor Simeon or the swashbuckler Paxton Lynch if Lynch can take over for Simeon, but I think it's probably going to be Simeon next year. So Demaryius Thomas, you just have to adjust your value of who he is. He's not a back of the
wide
second,
receiver too.
Yeah, he's not a back of the 2nd round guy. He's a 4th round type of guy, late 3rd, maybe 4th round guy.
5th straight year of playing 16 games, 30 less targets than last year, 15 less receptions, 300 less yards. About the same touchdowns. I know I was preaching some caution about projecting a bounce back for Demaryius Thomas at the beginning of the year. A lot of people saw the 6 touchdowns last year and said, "Oh, he'll be back in the double digits." Doesn't always work out that way. He's in a situation that Larry Fitzgerald was in for a couple years, where, okay, it's not John Skelton, but you also Jason talked about it on Tuesday. Look at the top performers. Look at their quarterbacks. It's a math equation there.
Yeah, it seems like the wide receiver 2s for great quarterbacks did better than the wide receiver 1s with faltering quarterbacks. Now you have gonna be a change in the offense, which means a new system to learn for Trevor Simeon or Paxton Lynch, whoever it's going to be. Demaryius Thomas, he is next year a wide receiver 2. Now, the one thing I'll say about him is
he has one upside.
He has one upside, but I think it's more he's one of those rare guys that actually outperformed. His consistency rating was ahead of where he finished. because he, like you said, he didn't have a single top 5 performance, but he had 90 receptions. So you got to spread that out over the season. So as a wide receiver 2 on your fantasy team, I think Demaryius Thomas is okay. You're not going to survive with Trevor Siemian throwing to your number 1 fantasy wide receiver.
It doesn't seem so.
You're not going to win a championship.
But maybe Mike McCoy, like when you look at next year and you say, okay, Crabtree, Fitzgerald, and Demaryius Thomas as your 2, who would you rather have? Because Thomas finished behind both those guys, and I'd rather have Thomas. That's my opinion.
I'd rather have Crabtree. I would rather go with the better quarterback and the more red zone targets.
Sure. All right, number 17 is Julian Edelman. Now, we don't have to linger too long on Edelman because we actually talked about him in the quick question of the day yesterday. The big highlight to me is he finished 17th in half-point scoring, ended up number 60 in standard leagues in terms of a consistency ranking. Only 3 top 25 performances, only 1 top 5 performance, which I'm guessing was the final week of the year and didn't have any relevance for fantasy owners.
That certainly padded the stats.
So the story for him, he still had 98 receptions, but only 3 touchdowns. You know, you're looking at him like you're looking at Jarvis Landry, and you're saying, you know, a lot of weapons. LeGarrette Blount obviously took a ton of touchdowns in the red zone, had a ton of 1-yard chances. I think Edelman is good for this number, if not better, next year. That would be my take.
I would. 1,100 yards. Is that he had 1,100 yards? Oh yeah, that last game was so massive.
Yeah,
but I still like
30 years old.
Yep, I think but I don't have slowing down.
Got that nice 4.5 40 time.
The only reason that I think he might slow down is not because of himself or his age or anything like that, but you saw his resurgence come when Gronk went out. Now, you don't know if Michael Floyd's going to resign, but if Malcolm Mitchell's a year more into the system and Michael Floyd resigns and Gronk is back, then I think what we saw this year with Edelman, where he's got some duds out there, is going to happen again. So really, he's one that I think we need to watch how the offseason progresses for the Patriots in order to determine. It's just too early for me to tell.
I can agree with that.
Where I could draft Edelman.
Well, because I'm never wrong about anybody, we'll talk about the guy I just love. Number 18, Rishard Matthews. I've been telling Jason for years how good Rishard Matthews is. No, I mean, I'm lying, and I wasn't a believer in Rishard Matthews. But he ends up at number 18 on this list. Number
the team
20
did not believe in him early.
No, they didn't. His story, 65 catches, 945 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Why is he number 18? He's number 18 because he had 9 touchdowns.
He just kept doing it.
65 catches, that's not a ton. PPR consistency ranking was 7 spots lower than his standard league, so he's a better standard league receiver this past year. 7 top 25 performances. That's impressive to me. 5 dud weeks. Obviously lost his quarterback for a part of the season. Overall, I a heck of a year for Rishard Matthews.
Yeah.
And turned into a go-to guy towards the end of the year. It makes you think he can sustain or improve on this next year.
Yeah, at least until Mariota went out. When Mariota went out, so did Rishard Matthews' fantasy value.
But if he was earning trust in the beginning of the season,
right?
I don't know, Jason. I don't know if you have the splits on his first half, back half.
I can look those up real quick. Certainly, it was about week 5 before he came on strong. The first,
maybe where he ranked from week 5 on. Maybe figure that out for me. I'm just curious. But
which game was the week 5?
Week 5, he played against Miami. In Miami, went 4 for 32 and a touchdown. I'll look up his splits in the first month and then after that first month.
Yeah, Rishard Matthews ended up
Miami.
I mean, from week 5 on, how many? Let me ask you this: from week 5 on, how many single-digit games did Rishard Matthews put up? Guess.
So that'd be 12 games. I'm gonna go 3.
It was 2.
It's pretty good.
Double digits throughout. 300-yard games, couple 9-reception games. So very impressive. Obviously, they paid him to come and do this. I don't know why they didn't give him the shot for a while. But he's only 27 years old. So I think a bright future with Mariota. Probably a guy that gets underdrafted.
We always thought, Mike and I, very similar to Kenny Stills, we always thought Rishard Matthews was a good wide receiver. Now, if
you were right about one of them.
If he has... So Rishard Matthews, the first month of the season, was wide receiver 71. Did not help anyone. From week 5 on, he was your wide receiver 10.
Yeah. So that's impressive. And I think he's more like if I had to just project him next year, I'd probably put him at 13, 14.
Wow, that's extremely high. And
I know.
And the nice thing is he's not going to be drafted like that.
I know.
So then you've got. I mean, it doesn't necessarily A equals A plus B, but where do you have Mariota right now in your gut future rankings? You have him top 8?
I have him top 10.
Okay.
Maybe top 8. Look, what do I like? I like a lot of what Tennessee's doing because it reminds me of Oakland. You have young quarterback, some wide receivers that are there, an up-and-coming team, good offensive line. So I don't see a reason why – there's a lot of consistency there. I don't see a reason why Rishard Matthews can't come back next year in a very – I mean, what – does Indy's defense scare you? Does Jacksonville's defense scare you? Does – I just think there's opportunity.
Houston's does.
Yeah, Houston's does.
Well,
no.
What's
you
nice is the Tennessee secondary doesn't scare me. Yes. Which means more scoring for the Tennessee Titans.
For the record, Matthews, 9 for 114 and a touchdown against Houston this year. So, let's move on to Golden Tate.
Ha-ha! I was right, everyone. It took a while for that to happen.
Do you realize how close to an evil villain you are? When you win, you're like Captain Hook.
And then when I lose, I smash your trophy.
Right.
That's actually true.
In fairness, I broke the trophy early on into my reign, and I had a broken trophy.
And you kept it a secret.
You also need to get the new winner's engraving on there.
I am.
Okay.
Don't you worry about it.
Yeah. When will he have it?
Golden Tate.
Golden
Tate. I said early in the season or in the pre-season draft, I was wrong. I said he was a lock for 100 receptions.
Give me his back half of the year too. I'm curious.
Yeah, I will look that up. He finished with 91, which is certainly something you're happy.
91. Just in general, just the number.
He finished with 91 receptions. I was saying he was a lock for 100 receptions.
He changed his number to 91.
And so you're happy with 91 receptions. The reason that you're not happy with Golden Tate, obviously, is the beginning month. That first month of the season, it was Marvin Jones.
7, 2, 5, 2, 6.
Yeah, Golden Tate did absolutely nothing.
So from week 6 on, he was pretty on fire.
Yeah, week 6, I'll take a look at that.
You had over 6 receptions for the last 5 weeks of the year. You had an 11 reception week.
So from week 5.
All right, give me your guesses. Week 6 on.
I've got
half point PPR.
Week 6 on, half point PPR. I'm going to put him at wide receiver 11.
I'm going to go number 8.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
He's wide receiver number 8.
Consistency-wise, though, because of that, he ended up as 24 in standard, 34 in PPR. But from week 6 on, he was on fire. He played better against top 16 defenses. He was involved in the offense in a different way once they lost Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick. So I think we need to be very careful about Golden Tate because with Riddick, Abdullah, and Ebron back, I just don't know how they're going to use him.
I can agree with that, but I still want Golden Tate on my team.
Do you want him more or less than Rishard Matthews next year?
That's a great question.
Man, I would say more.
I think I would as well. If I'm in any kind of PPR scoring format, I would take Golden Tate just because
I think that the first month was an outlier. I think there was
you've got
something
seasons.
wrong that they didn't talk about. Exactly. We have a lot of history.
3 years of high production, high volume receiving totals with him and Matthew Stafford. So that first month, clearly now in hindsight, was the outlier. The second half of the year isn't the outlier when he did it the year before and did it the year before.
All right, so I want to get into some early ADP guys that finished outside the top 25. So I'm going to quickly go through 20 through 24 here and just give you their end-of-season ranking and then their consistency ranking.
Oh, man, there's a really, really good wide receiver here coming up.
Terrelle Pryor finished number 20, number 13 in consistency rankings. Emmanuel Sanders was the number 21 receiver. Really bad consistency. 45th in the league. Had 6.
He had explosive games.
Yeah, and 6 non-top 48.
He was the bazooka.
That didn't used to be Sanders' MO. His MO was more consistency. So he was trouble. Tyreek Hill ended up the 22nd ranked wideout. Ended up even higher on consistency rankings. He just gets involved.
Here he comes.
Mike Wallace.
Oh, look at that good wide receiver.
Is that his real numbers?
He's the 23rd?
72 for 1,000 yards.
We just talked about this.
Yeah.
Well,
I wasn't making up a number.
They throw the ball more than anybody in the league.
That's why.
34th ranked consistency, terrible. Just a terrible wide receiver. Of
still-
course, he fed on bottom 16 defenses, more yardage and more fantasy points. Doesn't show up for big games.
Barely 8 more yards.
And yet all of those
You're
numbers,
on my hit list, Mike.
all of those numbers still better than the 24th ranked wide receiver, Kelvin Benjamin.
Can't stand you, Mike Wallace. Kelvin Benjamin, 24th ranked, 37th ranked consistency. Goodness, I don't know what's going to happen to him next year. Kelvin Benjamin's draft position. You're going to draft him and you're going to wince while you do it because so many question marks. His consistency stunk. Does Cam Newton bounce back? What does that offense look like? Blah, blah, blah. That's the story. All right. I want to get into a few. Wow. Okay. Jamison Crowder ended up 30th?
Yeah.
30th?
And yet he was the 15th most consistent. Jamison Crowder, I'm glad you brought him up. I was hoping we talked about him. He is the type of guy, we talk about those wide receiver twos, and you could have got Jamison Crowder. Even next year, you'll be able to get Jamison Crowder late. And as a wide receiver 2, or even depending on how late you get him as your wide receiver 3, I think he's going to be great next year.
He just bombed. Yeah,
Assuming
I don't know.
is-
I don't know. He bombed the end of the year to hurt his ranking. He was very consistent, but Josh Doxson comes back.
The entire Washington offense is going to look.
You don't know
different.
what's going to happen with Deshaun Jackson. He's a free agent. Pierre Garçon, I believe, is also a free agent. And so if they move on to the next generation, I like Crowder quite a bit.
Sure.
When I watch film,
He's great.
Forget the numbers.
Yeah, he's like Landry.
He looks like a go-to guy, strong hands, can make a move after the catch, has a nose for the end zone. You get him down near there. It's one of those guys where it's like if he catches the ball around the 5-yard line, it's hard to get him out of the end zone.
Here's a story for you. Number 29 on the rankings this year is DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, he was drafted. Look, his ADP in PPR leagues was 5.
Ooh.
Get this. How many top 5 performances this year? I highlighted it in blue on your document.
I see it. It is, and the number
It should be highlighted in puke green because it's 0. 0 top 5 performances. 5 top 25 performances.
Wait, what?
What are you sending me?
Hold on.
According to Ian Rappaport, the new logo for the LA Chargers.
Oh,
Looks
my goodness.
strikingly like Los
Dodgers?
Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody listening on the podcast,
you
can
can
you see
check-
that? Can you see that logo?
This is good radio.
Have you ever seen the letter L, A, and
There you
then
go.
like a lightning bolt?
Just the Harry Potter, the L and the A.
That is very Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Very much.
All right. DeAndre Hopkins.
Cool story, bro.
I think the story will be an expectation for a bounce back next year.
I think people are going to overdraft DeAndre Hopkins next year.
Where do you think he
is-
goes then?
He's
he
an elite
finished
talent.
29th. Where does he go in terms of wide receivers?
I think he is going to be drafted around wide receiver 15.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no way he's going beyond
And
that.
and I can't see him being a wide receiver 1 with the quarterback situation
So,
there.
as we finish out this episode, Hopkins or Allen Robinson? Because Allen Robinson finished 25th.
Next year, I'm definitely drafting
I would
Allen
take
Robinson
Robinson.
over DeAndre Hopkins.
Why?
Allen Robinson,
Why definitely?
For a multitude of reasons. One,
When
we've
you have
seen
Teenage
him,
Mutant Ninja Bortles over there.
We have seen Allen Robinson have a great, elite wide receiver year with the quarterback that he still has.
Okay.
So we know Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson can get it done. We also saw
They had the same amount of targets, by the way. 151 each. Disappointing with 151 targets.
Yeah, we also saw, after the coaching change, after Gus Bradley left and they started moving Allen Robinson around the formation, he had some good games. And there's no lack of talent for either of those guys.
I agree with you.
DeAndre
I agree with
Hopkins
you. I'm
and
just
Allen
asking.
Robinson are both great wide receivers. The question is, which team can get them the ball?
Bortles allegedly had the separated shoulder. You saw his mechanics completely fall apart, so that at least matches. The stories match. Maybe he can clean things up. You have the general, Tom Coughlin, coming into town.
Not as the coach.
I know, but he's still going to be there with his frostbitten face.
The grandpappy.
Yeah. Look, he is. You want to talk about a war general who comes in? You're like, oh, better tuck in my shirt.
He knows. He was in the day that they had bazookas.
Breaking news.
Ooh. It's not breaking to me, but it's got to be breaking to you guys. Did you hear the very exciting news?
Do tell.
Hold on.
The Gus bus is going to land
Buffalo,
possibly in Washington.
Yes.
As the new defensive coordinator in
Washington.
Love it. I'm holding out hope, guys.
I'd love it. He's just not a head coach.
I agree with you. Just like I don't think Mike McCoy is either.
Right.
I think Mike McCoy's sliding right back into where he belongs.
It's like Ken Wisenhunt. He's a
great
fine offensive coordinator and a horrific debacle of a head coach.
Not bitter at all from our Cardinal years, are we? He took us to a Super Bowl.
It's not just the Cardinals.
No, I was talking about Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner brought us to the Super Bowl.
All right, that's it for today's show. Good luck this weekend. We have 4 awesome games. This is my favorite weekend of the
divisional round?
Yeah, divisional round. You still have 4 games. It's going to be beautiful. So have some fun. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. Leave us a review on iTunes if you want to.
What is it?
Please, if you think so. Also, go to fantasyjocks.com if you want a championship.
Thanks for noticing me.
You get that trophy fixed?
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.